it's Ellen here at Yarn Dock, and I am not in my office today, as you can see. But I found myself in a little predicament on vacation, and so I am filming this intro from our holiday house in Croatia. We're not still there by the time you see this, but I was working on a project and realized that I hadn't filmed an introduction for this yarn review, and I was about to attach the last ball of yarn, and so I wouldn't have it, so that I needed to film. So hi, welcome to Croatia, welcome to my channel, thanks for joining me. If you're a subscriber, welcome back, friend. And if you're new here, hey, that subscribe button's right there. It doesn't cost you anything. You might as well hit it and come back and see what other crazy adventures we have around here. This yarn today came as a 2-pack. It's this brand. I don't know if you can read that or not, but it reminds me very, very much of Caron Colorama Halo, or even a Caron latte cake. You can see it's very fuzzy, it's very soft like those yarns are. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was indeed the same yarn or manufactured by the same plant. I don't know, but it very much reminds me of that. It is 80% acrylic, 20% nylon. And on the ball band, it says it's 190 grams for 350 to 375 meters. On the listing on Temu, it said it would be 400 grams, and it was a 2-ball pack. So I'm going to weigh this, if I can find a scale in the holiday house, I hope. I might have brought my bread scale with me. I packed in a whirlwind. I'm not sure what's in there and what's not. So if I do have a scale in there, I will weigh it and check. I'm not in doubt, like feeling it, holding it, working with it, I'm not in doubt that it is around that 200 mark. It recommends a 4 to a 5 millimeter crochet hook. No knitting needle recommendations, which is an interesting twist on what we usually see. Yeah. So I have done the washer and dryer test because the project I'm making is for my mother. You might have seen her choose this yarn in one of the Whipping It Up Wednesdays while I was actually away in Croatia. But she wanted to know how it washed and dried before she committed to it. So I have done those tests already, and I have been working with the yarn. But as I said, I hadn't introduced it to you, I hadn't shown you the listing, and sorry, I hadn't done that filming, and I want to tie it on so that I can get the shawl finished so she can take it back to Canada with her. Plus, it's a little bit cold and rainy. We got here last night and have been forced inside all day because of the wet weather. Though the rest of our time here is looking up and looking sunny, but the sun has started to come out, and I want to get back to hooking. So I'm going to go hook it up. I will show you the washer dryer test now, and hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. I'm on vacation, my head's not in the game, but I'm sure I'll mention it as we go. Okay, friends, you will see that this is a little different than how I usually do it. I've made smaller squares than usual, and I've only made 2. One to go in the washer, one to go in the washer and dryer. And I'm going to use this as our comparison instead of having a 3rd square. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm really nervous about the amount of yarn that I have to finish this project. And I need to finish it in time to send home with my mother. And so I don't have time to order more yarn. So I hope you'll understand that. I still think it'll be enough to tell how it does in the washer and dryer. They're 8 centimeters wide, and I'm going to go and I'm going to wash them and I'm going to dry them, and we will see what happens. The washing instructions were completely in Chinese, so I have no idea, no idea what they say. And that won't even focus. So that doesn't help anybody. So I'm going to go and do that. I'm literally leaving at 4 a.m. So I'm just trying to get this done in time so that it can be ready and I can take it with me. Or if she decides she doesn't like how they wash and dry, I can choose another yarn to take. All right, off I go. So I've washed them and dried them, and she says I can use them for her shawl. I'm trying to stand in a way that it doesn't put a shadow on them. But the washed one stayed at 8 centimeters. The one that was in the dryer is just slightly under 8 centimeters. So it did shrink just a teeny tiny smidge. It is even furrier. It is even softer, though it starts out incredibly soft. So I'm not sure that it is necessary. This one that came out of the washer was dry by the time this one came out of the dryer. So if it were me doing it, I would probably just wash it and lie it flat to dry. Wash it in the washer. I use the wool cycle and then just lie it flat to dry. But I know that she will put it in the washer and the dryer. So she really wanted to know what would happen with the dryer. And I apologize for having these ends. I am really, really worried about playing yarn chicken. And I wanted to be able to take the samples apart and use them in her shawl. Because as I said, I'm not going to have time to get more yarn before she has to go back to Canada. So I hope to get this project finished while I'm on vacation. And then she can take it with her when she goes home. So that is the washer and dryer results. It did pretty well. I'm not sure that I've really lost anything in stitch definition from the dryer, except, and it's not showing up nearly as much on camera. Well, maybe you can see it around the edges here. You can see just how much hairier it is after being in the dryer. I think part of that is from the static electricity that it gave a little bit of a charge to the halo that is on there. So anyway, that's the results. And for you, you should be seeing the finished object in just a second here. So I was crocheting away here, totally zoned out. And all of a sudden I felt this end sort of flick me. And I thought, oh, factory knot, okay. Then I realized it wasn't attached to anything. And so I tried to find the other end. And I've got an end here, and I've got sort of mangled ends here. And then I come up here to this, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. A little rat's nest in the middle of the ball. And then it does transition right into what should be the next color. So yeah, not sure what happened there, but... And I literally just ordered another package because I'm not going to get the great big shawl that she wants out of one package. I said I was worried about that, and I'm coming very near to the end of this one, and it's maybe just over half the size of what I'd like it to be. So I have ordered another package. Hopefully it will be there waiting for me when I get home from vacation, and I'll be able to quickly add the other 2 skeins to this in order for her to take it home with her. I'm going to have to wait a while to know if that happens. You will probably find out on the very next screen. So that's my finished object. It's here. I can wrap it around me. It was easy to work with. I enjoyed the yarn. It moved well. It was surprisingly easy to frog. The only thing that really got me was the broken pieces in the middle of the ball. Like, what was that about? And shortly after I showed you that, and I meant to leave it to film it, and then I was like, why haven't I woven in my ends? Because that's not like me. And I wove them all in. But in, I would say, probably 20 meters worth of yarn, I had 6 factory knots. So I always cut them out and retie them with long tails that I weave in. So that was a dozen extra ends to weave in. And then came the end of the ball, and the break was maybe 5 meters before that. So all totaled, I had 16 ends there. That was, even for me, like, I don't usually mind weaving in ends, but when I'm going, you know, just sort of along a section in order to do it, that was really disappointing. But that was the only ball that it was like that. So maybe I just got a bad one. I feel like I say that too often, though. You know, like, maybe I just got a bad one in the batch. But for me, that was a problem. That was excessive. I've never had this just broken random pieces in a skein before. That was very strange. So yeah, other than that, it's a very good yarn. It was like, to work with, it's a very good yarn. It felt nice on my hands. We're getting into cooler weather now, so it pooling on my lap was keeping me warm as I put the border on it. And it is the kind of yarn that it looks like it is. What do I mean by that? It's not a yarn you pick because you really want to show off some stitch definition or some texture. I started working on the shawl. My mother picked this. This is for my mom. And she looked at a bunch of yarns and she picked this because she thought it looked cozy and that the colors would be versatile, yada, yada, yada. And I started working on it on a long car trip. And she wanted something sort of lacy and pretty. And so I tried 2 other patterns first. And it didn't have stitch definition, so it all kind of blended together. The only way you really get the lacy look here is because of the big gaps in the German shell construction. But you're not really seeing that lacy look that you usually would, that would usually come out in a German shell pattern. So she likes the holes because it's very thick and warm and cozy, but it's not going to be too hot because you are getting the little bits of ventilation. And I think the stitch definition there is showing better on the camera than it does in person. And certainly on the lighter sections, you know, right there you've got the lightest and the darkest meeting each other. So you can really see the difference that color makes with this yarn. And there aren't many sort of neutrals in this. There's mostly sort of brights, in, you know, where the center is bright and then it fades out to pastel. And sort of in your pinks, not really red, but sort of that deep berry pink and blue and green and yellow, and sort of 2 shades of each are your options. But as I've said, it is very, very much like a Caron cloud cake. I think I've compared it to the latte cake before. And actually, when I held it side by side with the variety of Caron cakes, it's very much like the cloud cake. The fiber content is much closer to the cloud cake. It feels more like the cloud cake. So if you're familiar with that, this is basically that yarn. And there's part of me that's a little bit suspicious in the move of some of the larger American brands away from Chinese production into Turkey, if we're now seeing what used to be the Chinese production of these American brands coming from the manufacturers listing them on Temu. I would not be at all surprised if this was originally a recipe or from the factory that was making these cakes. Now, I have absolutely no research behind that, but that was sort of my suspicious mind, because after the tariffs went in and this production shift happened, and the only reason I know about that is because Crystal at Bag O'Day has talked about it with her yarn that was being produced, and then the slowdowns because of this change from China to Turkey. I started to notice these yarns appear on Temu. I mean, I've been watching Temu yarns for a long time, and these are a pretty recent addition. So that's where that suspicion comes in. But again, I am just completely speculating on this over timings and rumors. And so I have no facts to back that up. But that is very much what it reminds me of. And I'm using that to sort of compare it to a yarn you might be more familiar with or might have access to go and feel and see in person if you were curious about these cakes. Do I think they are a good buy? Yeah, I do think they're a good buy. I paid for 2 about what I paid for a cloud cake on my recent trip to Canada. So, you know, there's some exchange, and with Temu, prices are constantly changing, but they're it's about equal. What I paid for 1 in Canada is what I paid for 2 on Temu. Now, I'm using the German site because I'm in Germany, and I have heard on other Temu products that in Germany, we're still seeing much lower prices than people in the US are seeing on the Temu site there. And probably this is in response to some of the tariff issues that are going on. But as for the yarn itself and working with it, I think it's a very good yarn overall. I have ordered more in other colors, so that gives you an idea of where we're going with this. I would give it an A, but with all those sort of manufacturer defects in at least that one skein, I am going to say an A- overall for this yarn. just because, you know, and you might say, oh, it's Temu, what do you expect? It's cheap. But Temu products are not supposed to be seconds. Let's be clear about this. We're not shopping at Temu for what is supposedly, you know, factory seconds or mill-end kind of products. The prices on Temu are supposedly so cheap because we're buying direct from manufacturers. So to say, well, it's Temu and you got it for such a bargain, you can't expect top quality. Well, yeah, actually, I think I can. So I am taking off a grade level for at least one quite defective ball that I've had so far. Is it keeping me from repurchasing the yarn? No, obviously it's not. I have some that should arrive this afternoon sometime. So take that as you will, but I'm just anticipating the comments about, yeah, well, it's Temu, you can't expect. Well, I do, because it's not billed as seconds. It's billed as these are the prices because they're manufacturer direct. Essentially, you've cut out levels of middle. I want to say middleman, but I don't want to say middleman. You know what I'm saying? There. But if, for example, we see yarns on Temu and also on Amazon that are being sold by different vendors on Amazon, but not the manufacturers themselves. And they're the exact same product, but the price on Amazon is higher. It's because we've added another level between the manufacturer and the customer. It's not supposed to be because the quality is lesser in one than the other. That I mean, we've all seen that and experienced that, but that shouldn't be the expectation. So that's what I have to say about that. I did like this yarn. I will use it again. I think you've got a pretty good sense of what it is, what it looks like, what it works up like. I have no knit sample in this one, but I don't think it would make that much difference because you're really not getting that much difference in the stitch definition for the difference in the quality, the nature of the fabric between crochet and knit for it to really matter. And it is very much, very similar to that Caron Perfect phasing. So if you've seen that, you get a sense of what it would look like. So that's this one. Around here, I call it the Temu Cloud Cake, because it doesn't really have a name. But one last look on that one. If you found this helpful, the thing you could do to help me would be to subscribe to the channel, to like the video, drop a comment, all that YouTube stuff. That really does help in the end and helps keep me bringing them to you and makes me see what you actually like and want to watch, and I can do more of that stuff based on that kind of feedback. So until next time, my friends, you have a great day and happy stitching.